welcome to this virtual experience with the Nausicaá Aquarium. As we all know, today is Earth Day, and together with Nausicaa, we want to inspire you to let the outdoors in and go on a great exploration. Before we join our host for the virtual experience, we have a few logistics to take care of. If you have any questions for the presenters, you can submit them through the Q&A button below. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the experience, so please feel free to send out your questions, and we'll try answer as many as possible at the end of the session. You can also, if you don't feel like asking questions, you can also vote for your favorite one with the thumbs up button. And we usually answer the questions with the most votes. This is a Zoom webinar, so your camera will not be on, but you can use the chat to communicate with your fellow attendees and hosts. You can share where you're joining us from. You can also ask us some questions and have a little chat between all panelists and attendees. If you have any technical difficulties, use the chat to send a message to all panelists, and we'll try to help you as soon as possible. Finally, this experience will be recorded, and you'll be able to watch all of our great explorations experiences on Tiqets Facebook page and for the rest of the week. And we'll also be sending out the recordings to all the registrants coming next week. So without further ado, I'm happy to hand over to the two scientific educators of Nausicaa, Julian and Elena, who are going to transport us to the world of the Nausicaá Aquarium. Julian and Elena, take it away.
Dans une partie de l'exposition, aujourd'hui, on va commencer par aller se promener dans la mangrove, une zone où l'eau douce rencontre l'eau salée, et on trouve pas mal de formes de vie assez différentes. On ira ensuite au niveau du lagon, on passera par la mer ouverte et on terminera par un petit voyage au niveau des lions de mer, et il y aura quelques surprises sur la route. Pour commencer, je vous parlais de la mangrove. Alors, c'est un lieu qui est riche en formes de vie, comme je vous l'ai dit. Ici, dans la partie mangrove de Nausicaa, on peut croiser des tortues géantes, des iguanes, mais également des insectes. Et oui, il n'y a pas que des poissons à Nausicaa. Il y a notamment dans cette partie mangrove des phasmes.
So now you can see large stick insects just behind Julien. Oh, he hears some noise. Let's have a look. This is Aude, our tropical aquarist. So Aude is about to feed the fish in the lagoon tank, and she will explain us her routine to feed the fish in the lagoon.
Ils n'ont pas tous la même taille et ils n'ont pas tous le même régime alimentaire, donc nous devons adapter.
So the lagoon contains a multitude of tropical fish species, all different, and so the aquarists prepare different menus adapted to each one's diet. The feeding will start with the big mouth fish, like the batfish, the ones that are all flat, as you can see. They are given a mixture of seafood, and you can also see a porcupine fish somewhere near the surface. So the porcupine fish it's a fish that can swell and spread its spines when it feels in danger. Very useful. So Aude will feed then the vegetarian fish, like the surgeonfish. These are yellow and blue fish. You probably know Dory in Nemo's world, who is a representative of the surgeonfish group. You can also see the one with growth on its head. It's the unicorn fish, a surprising fish. And it's the biggest vegetarian in this tank. The surgeonfish are called like that because they have a small but very sharp scale at the base of their tail, and we call that a scalpel. So this week for the vegetarian is spinach and broccoli on the menu, and they love it. Now Aude will feed the small-mouthed fish, And so the smallest fish in this tank with very, very small crustaceans, krill and mysis. So krill and mysis are part of the plankton and they are very small shrimps. So for the smallest fish, you can see some very colorful ones, the NTS, orange and red. And they have the particularity to live in harem. So one male can live with about 10 females. And when the male dies, the dominant female will take his place and will transform into a male. The sex change is very frequent in many fish, like the clownfish, for example.
La particularité des anchas, c'est qu'ils vivent en harem, c'est-à-dire qu'un mâle va s'entourer d'une dizaine de femelles. Et le jour où ce mâle va disparaître, la femelle la plus dominante du groupe, c'est-à-dire la plus costaud, la plus grosse, elle va prendre la place du mâle et se
Aude had just finished feeding the small fish in the lagoon with the plankton. We can see again the unicorn fish at the surface.
Et qu'ensuite des couples vont se former et que le plus gros va devenir la femelle par la suite.
And so many different colorful ones.
Donc, comme je vous disais, c'est compliqué de vous montrer des petites espèces de poissons. C'est pour ça qu'on a mis à votre disposition des aquariums qui sont beaucoup plus petits et qui se situent après l'observatoire sous-marin dans une zone appelée jungle de corail où vous pourrez
You can see also bigger
colorées.
fish, and they are sharks. And the unicorn again, and corals. So Julien is meeting Aude at the surface, and he noticed that she has another feeding to do, and it's not finished for the lagoon feeding today. She will now feed the sharks, not regular sharks. You can see they are very different to common sharks that we used to see in movies or other documentaries. And she will feed now the zebra sharks. So we call them zebra sharks, but I think in English you usually call them leopard sharks because they have little spots on their skin. As you can see, Aude is using different devices to feed the sharks, and this is a routine, and she will do exactly the same, and she will always feed them the same way with this stick. She calls it a target. So the target is very important for the animals, so they can visualize and then they can be trained. So the target serves as a marker. This allows her to ration the animals on a daily basis and to have a precise follow-up. Each one has its own bowl, as you can see, and its own special moment with the aquarist. So this training is also very useful to accustom the animals and reduce the stress in case of veterinary intervention.
Ça y ressemble pas vraiment à ce qu'on a l'habitude de voir, et zèbres pour le coup encore moins. Pourquoi on les appelle comme ça?
So Julien asked why we call them zebra sharks. So in French, they are called zebra sharks and not leopards. And Aude is explaining why. So indeed, there are more than 500 different species of sharks in the world, all different in size, in shapes and colors. For example, open sea sharks have to swim all the time, like the white sharks or the sand tiger shark, and others like zebra shark rest on the bottom. So in France, they are called zebra sharks because when they are young, they are striped black and white. And another species of shark was already called leopard. So Julien is now asking if we have a male and a female, and then if maybe we had some reproduction in this tank. And yes, we have a male and a female registered in a European breeding program. And this year, last year, we were lucky enough to see the birth of 5 juvenile zebra sharks. So these sharks are egg-laying sharks, and those juveniles were born between July and December 2020. So now you can see some images of the birth of the zebra sharks. So you can see the eggs, big eggs. And an ultrasound of the eggs, so you can see the embryos moving inside. So you can see the babies, they're so cute. And you can see also they have white and black striped like a zebra, which is why we call them zebra sharks in France. And we had 5 juveniles. So now they are growing up in our reserves. When they're growing up, the stripes transform into black spots on the adults. And they are found in the ocean, Indian Ocean and Pacific, so Indo-Pacific region in the tropics. They are in danger, so we need to act for their conservation, which is why it's very important to register them in a European breeding program. We find the guide back on the pontoon in front of the open seas tank. So from this pontoon, we overlook the coral reef that separates the open ocean from the lagoon. At the borders of the open sea, the ocean is mainly populated by schools of fish and large predators, like sharks, for example. So let's know more about them with Ludwig, aquarist and oceanic sector and team leader of the oceanic sector.
En Nausicaa, on utilise 2 systèmes différents pour nourrir les requins. C'est-à-dire que sur les gros requins qui sont présents dans le bassin mer ouvert.
So you have subtitles on this story, and then you can enjoy the information provided by Ludwig.
Intervenir à l'endroit particulier du bassin. Et pour les requins zèbres du lagon, là, on utilise un système d'apprentissage un peu plus sophistiqué qui est une cible. Non seulement ça permet de montrer finalement aux visiteurs que les requins sont capables d'apprendre, c'est-à-dire qu'avec cette cible, on peut les venir à un endroit précis du bassin. Quand ils voient cette cible, ils se dirigent vers elle, ils la touchent et leur récompense, c'est la nourriture. Alors tout ça, ça permet justement de leur donner la nourriture en quantité et en qualité adéquate pour eux, mais aussi de fournir par exemple des compléments alimentaires relativement indispensables pour eux, en l'occurrence par exemple des compléments avec de l'iode. La nourriture chez les requins est assez différente suivant les espèces. En fait, il faut s'adapter à chaque espèce de requin. Par exemple, les requins gris ou le requin taureau du bassin mer ouvert se nourrissent plutôt principalement de poissons, à la différence par exemple des requins zèbres du lagon qui eux, se nourrissent plutôt de crustacés ou de mollusques. Donc en fonction du régime alimentaire de chaque espèce, il faut s'adapter et on y arrive bien souvent de manière optimale. Sur une semaine, en moyenne, un requin va manger 3-4% de son poids, ce qui est relativement faible, d'autant plus qu'un requin se nourrit en général 1 à 2 fois par semaine. Et si on compare ça à d'autres poissons, bien finalement, j'ai coutume de dire que le poisson clown, proportionnellement à sa taille, bien sûr, mais un poisson clown mange quasiment 10 fois plus qu'un requin.
We find back Julien still on the pontoon, and he will now go down to the underwater observatory. This aquarium represents the open sea in tropical regions. You can observe badfish or the sand tiger shark, also called spotted red-toothed shark for an obvious reason. If you look at the tooth of this shark, it's frightening. On the other hand, you can see the lagoon from below and the zebra sharks. I'll let you enjoy the lagoon fish for a moment. So the lagoon is separated from the open sea by the barrier reef, and you can observe our couple of zebra sharks, a lot of batfish again, angelfish, butterfly fish, a school of fusiliers also, some rabbit fish behind. Very colorful. Maybe we can have a yoga class. It's so peaceful. I think we will now soon meet again Julien in front of this lagoon. Hello from the studio.
Alors, on profite du spectacle.
Oh, this is Simon. So Simon Coste comes to meet Julien, and Simon is the Tropical Sector Aquarist team leader.
Très bien, Simon, puisque justement, je me posais pas mal de questions sur ce magnifique
Julien was
aquarium.
amazed by the diversity of life form and colors of this aquarium. So Simon explains that Nausicaa wanted to recreate the Indo-Pacific environment to present the tropical fish.
C'est le bassin le plus peuplé de Nausicaa.
Donc effectivement, dans ce bassin, vous allez pouvoir retrouver une multitude d'espèces. On a voulu représenter un écosystème indo-pacifique. Donc forcément, dans ce bassin, vous allez retrouver principalement des poissons récifaux qui peuplent ces lieux. Et également des espèces plus grosses comme le requin zèbre, comme Maud vous a parlé tout à l'heure.
You can see also
Alors,
bigger
c'est
fish
pareil dans la
like the
nature, est-ce
zebra
qu'on voit
fish.
autant de populations
Zebra
dans
sharks,
les
sorry.
lagons?
Ah oui, tout à fait.
Julien is asking if it's if it is similar in the natural environment, and yes, of course, it's even more colorful in the wild. Tropical lagoons are home to an incredible marine biodiversity, all as colorful as each other, to blend in with their environment. The coral reefs, of course.
Alors, Aude nous a dit à l'instant, juste au-dessus, que les requins zèbres avaient eu des petits. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres animaux qui se reproduisent dans ce bassin?
Alors non,
So Julien is asking if we have other fish reproducing in this tank except for the zebra sharks. And yes, we use an egg collection net to collect fish eggs and raise the juveniles in the nurseries in the backstage of Nausicaa.
Dans ce bassin. Mais tout ça, je vous laisse mon collègue Simon vous en parler plus en détail.
We'll now turn the floor over to another Simon, who will tell us more about this device. So maybe we can have the story of the egg collector with Simon Bécu. Sorry for his name, Simon Bécu.
Un couple qui protège leur progéniture. Donc en fait, on a des œufs qui ont éclos ce matin.
But now you can see also some fish were born very recently, and we have the parents protecting their juveniles. Okay, sorry. Now we will see the egg collector story with Simon Bécu. So this story was it was before COVID, so this is why you can see Simon without a mask, of course, and then with public behind, but now we are closed. We hope to open very soon, of course. So the floating device that you can see is the egg collector. Simon now picks up the egg collector and will look at what's inside.
Les poissons se sont reproduits. On va aller voir ça de plus près.
He now takes the sample to the laboratory to observe them under the microscope.
Que l'on va ensuite pouvoir observer au microscope.
As you can see, we can observe several types of eggs, and so different species have reproduced, including the batfish and the NTS. This is what we call a successful breeding season. We are back with Julien, still in front of the lagoon. He loves the lagoon. So we will now learn more about coral reefs, and Julien is showing the ladders, and then you can climb the ladders, and you are under big bubble of glass, and you can see the coral reef. Let's now meet a specialist in the field of corals with my colleague Laura, marine educator at Nausicaa.
Bonjour Aglaé. Bonjour Laura.
So this is Laura and Aglaé on the pontoon, and Aglaé is responsible for the corals here at Nausicaa. And so Laura asked her to describe us the corals.
C'est une des parties d'exposition de Nausicaa où on peut voir du corail. Qu'est-ce que le corail? Corail, c'est un animal.
So coral is an animal. Yes, it is an animal. These animals are commonly, when we say coral, is a colony of animals, and there are polyps that look like small animals, their cousins. The polyps have tentacles, which they use to catch their prey, their food, and several polyps all stick together form a structure called a coral. They live in symbiosis with microalgae, the zooxanthellae. Like all plants, these microalgae capture sunlight and through photosynthesis feed the coral polyps in their tissues. This is a big community, and this common structure can be of different shapes, different colors and textures. We can speak of soft corals, and we also can speak of hard corals for those that form a calcareous structure. Some of them are reef boulders, and these are known as keystone species. Let's find Aglaé in the reserves. So you see the backstage of Nausicaa, restricted area.
Aglaé, je te rejoins ici. Est-ce que tu peux nous dire où est-ce qu'on se trouve? Nous sommes dans les coulisses de Nausicaa. Aglaé, on dit souvent que le corail, c'est
So Laura is asking what the term keystone species means. What does it mean? So keystone species, it's a species that is fundamental to the ecosystem, like coral reefs. Coral reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean surface and yet concentrate almost 25% of the world's biodiversity. Corals provide habitat, nursery, and even food for many marine organisms.
servir de nursery.
Coral reefs are also capable of absorbing up to 90% of the force of the waves and thus protect our coasts and especially islands from erosion.
Donc, ça va limiter l'érosion des plages. On va aussi avoir
They are also very important for the economy. They have economic role for fishing, aquaculture, and tourism.
Mais aussi le tourisme. Beaucoup d'enjeux autour du corail. C'est pour ça que
Nausicaa wanted to raise awareness of their protection as soon as it opened. So now today we have almost 70 different species of coral grown here in our reserves, using the technique of propagation by cuttings. These made in Boulogne corals are exhibited in our tanks, but are also sent to other aquariums, such as those in Beijing, Vancouver, or even London. Let's have a look. And they can also be fluorescent and
Le changement
bioluminescent.
climatique a-t-il un impact sur le corail? Oui, il est très
Laura
important.
asked if climate change has an impact on coral,
Au changement
and
climatique,
unfortunately,
notamment
yes.
lié au
Reefs
réchauffement
are
des eaux,
very vulnerable to
quand
climate
la
change,
température
especially when it comes to warmer waters. If the temperature is too high, even by 1 degree, the coral can expel its symbiotic algae and be deprived of its main source of food.
Et c'est à ce moment-là qu'on parle de
This is
blanchiment
when
du
we
corail.
talk about coral
Quand il a
bleaching,
blanchi, ça peut
because
mener à
it's
sa
all,
mort, parce que les
it is
produits
also the microalgae that gives corals
on va
their
aussi
beautiful
avoir
colors.
l'acidification des océans,
When it's
qui là, va
white,
avoir un impact
it is
un
very
peu plus
vulnerable.
biologique, plus intense sur le corail,
There's also
parce qu'il
the
va
acidification
diminuer la
issue.
calcification, de la
The
structure
increase
calcaire.
in
Là, ça va vraiment être
CO2 in the
important.
atmosphere will make the oceans more acidic,
On va
and
aussi
the
avoir,
acidity
les
will
tempêtes,
dissolve
de plus en
the
plus de tempêtes
limestone
tropicales
from the
qui
coral
tendent
structure.
à détruire des récifs à chaque tempête. En
And
France,
of course, they will have great
alors oui,
difficulty in
la
developing.
France possède le troisième plus grand territoire en
Are
mondial
there
de
any
récifs
French
coralliens.
corals? And yes, we have,
En effet,
of course, not a lot in France, but we have it in different parts in the world. In New Caledonia, for example, we have the third largest area of coral reefs.
Notamment la création d'aires marines protégées. On va aussi avoir des initiatives qui vont permettre
Are
de
there ways to
réimplanter
preserve
des
coral
coraux, même les
reefs?
récifs
And
malades.
yes, so many different solutions, including creation of marine protected areas. There are initiatives to implement corals in the wild, and it's essential to support those conservation actions, which is why Nausicaa supports reefscapers and help them to implement up to 10 coral structures in the Maldives. Can reef help to fight climate change? Yes, coral reefs can help fighting climate change because a healthy reef absorbs carbon in large quantities, and corals play a major role in climate regulation. They also protect the waves from erosion, so it helps us to delay the onset of rising sea levels. We're going to leave Aglaé and Laura, and we'll meet again Julien, moving to the sea lions outside. And I guess he's got a surprise for you. It's sunny today. We are lucky. So you're so lucky because you will have the chance today to see the backstage of the sea lions.
Salut William.
Yeah, this is William, head of Sea Lions Reserves and trainer for sea lions. Let's meet Julien in the Sea Lions Reserve with William and the Sea Lions training team. William doesn't go to brush his teeth, but Speedy will. And we will now see some of the medical training with the sea lions. So this is Speedy, and the sea lions training team brushes their teeth daily. We have 5 male sea lions and a new female just arrived. So the medical training is essential to provide care, to ensure a close follow-up of the animals, and also to desensitize them to medical equipment. As you can see, Speedy understands everything he's told, and the trainers use a special gesture to communicate with the sea lions. And rewarding, of course, with fish. I would prefer chocolate, but it's my opinion. It's massage time. I think Speedy enjoy it. Okay, he will now do an exercise and simulate an ultrasound test. So the aim of this exercise is to accustom and desensitize the animals, and also for in case of veterinary intervention. This word is so hard to say. It is a work of patience, and the animal must trust its trainer. It can take months or even years, depending on the individual. As you can see, with this type of exercise with ultrasound, we can check if a female is pregnant, for example. And also we can check for injuries. Speedy has learned the position beforehand, and he's used to this type of exercise. He therefore remains very calm and cooperative, and quite relaxed. Massage again. We are now back with William in the kitchen, and Julien is asking if we can meet sea lions. Oh no, he's asking about the new female. Yes, of course. We just welcomed a new female named Kai. Nausicaa is a member of the European Association of Zoos and Aquaria, and so this female is integrating a European breeding program with many other zoos and aquariums. So if one day we have birth, the young will join other parks, others aquarium for the conservation of the genetic heritage of this species.
Les jeunes mâles et femelles qui verront le jour ici à Nausicaa seront
This is the new female, Kai.
envoyés dans certains parcs zoologiques et aquariums européens qui font partie de l'EASA.
She's already used to the trainers, as you can see. And you can see Julien again.
Alors oui, nous avons des mammifères marins sur.
So can we meet sea lions on our coast? No, but we have marine mammals that look like them, and they are seals and not sea lions. So we have here the Mammalogical Coordination of the North of France Association, which acts for the protection and the population monitoring. To avoid confusion, seals have no visible ears and move by crawling, whereas sea lions have small visible ears and move by using their flippers to stand up. Hug time. I hope you enjoy it. I guess Speedy enjoy it at least, and Kai. So now it's time for a question and answer. So I will try my best to answer your question.
Yeah, so we do have a couple of questions coming in. So I don't know, maybe you can answer some of them. So one of the questions we have is from a primary school in Taunton. Why do the sharks not eat or disturb the other fish in the tank?
Why the sharks won't eat the fish in the tank? Is
Yes.
that the question? Yes, it's a good question. It's a question we used to have very frequently, of course. And the reason is simple. As you could see during the interview with Aude, the sharks are fed. And so because the aquarist giving them food and adapted food, to their diet and to also the way they used to feed in the wild, they don't have to hunt for prey in the tank, hopefully, because otherwise we will have a decrease of fish numbers in our tanks. So for all the predators, not only sharks, because sharks are not the only predators in marine environment, of course. They are maybe the most impressive ones, but yeah, because we give them the adapted food at the right time, they are not hungry and they don't need to hunt.
Great. Another question we
Even
have
for the tiger sand shark, which is a big shark, but he's got big fish, so by the aquarist, so he doesn't need to fish to hunt.
Yeah, we have another question as well. What makes working at Nausicaa so special?
I would say multitasking. Like those kind of events. Yeah, I'm initially a marine biologist and a marine educator, but sometimes we do a lot of different things, and we develop different skills and adapt to when we need to adapt. So adaptation, multi-skills, so we never bored. Yeah, literally never. We cannot be bored. So yeah, I would say maybe for the aquarist is even different because they have the chance to work with animals. So we as a marine educator, we can see they work, we can see how they train animals. So it's wonderful to see the evolution of this relationship between the aquarist and the animals. And I think the aquarists are passionate about their work here.
Great. And we have another question as well. So we have an anonymous entity that said that he had no idea that some fish changed sex. What are some other examples?
So I was talking about the NTS and also the clownfish, which are fish that can change sex, but many other fish can change sex. In France, we have a very common fish, but I don't know the name in English of this fish. We call it vieille. What is the name of this fish in English? I have no idea, but we also have fish in France that lives in our seas that can change sex.
Great. And they ask, is it possible to pet some of the fish? So to touch some of the fish at the aquarium?
Yes, I just remember the name of the fish. It's a wrasse. It's a wrasse. I don't know the exact species, but it's a big wrasse. We call it the common wrasse, I guess, and it can change sex. Sorry. So yeah, just a pop up. You can touch the animals in the how do we call that? The pool, touch pool, the touch pool. So we have a touch pool, a big touch pool. Just if I climb, I could even could show you, but you will lose me on the camera, so I won't climb up to show you the touch pool. But we have a big tank with rays and cods, and I think we have also which other fish? Flat fish also. I don't remember the name. Sand, the flatfish that are living in the sand, and all are species that you can find in the North Sea channel.
Great.
So very cold.
Yeah. And we have another question. So how can we as individuals best help to save the coral reefs?
There's many ways to help the coral reefs, to help them survive. I will say survive, because they are really in danger, unfortunately. And maybe the best ways is first reduce the impact of climate change, because temperature rising in the waters is maybe the biggest threat to corals, climate change, and then the warmer waters. So to reduce our impact on climate change, we can use bicycle instead of cars. We can reduce the how do you say that? The energy that we use in our home. We can do a lot of different things that can reduce energy, that can reduce CO2 in the atmosphere, such as transport cars and energy in our home, and also reduce adapt our diet, because we know that cows, how do you say that, when you raise cows at a big scale, it can increase CO2 in the atmosphere a lot. So many different behavior that we can change, and just adapt an eco-friendly lifestyles, and also reduce plastics. So the more eco-friendly you live, the less impact you will have on climate change and on coral reefs. And then if you want to do even more, you can donate to conservation associations, NGOs, or you can even be part of conservation actions and go on the field. And also what it is really important is to raise awareness. So if you spread the informations, if you inform your family, your friends, and then you speak up for the ocean and you defend the coral reefs, then you will have a big positive impact to protect them.
Great. And I think we can take one more question. So we have one here. It says, obviously you don't want to be overcrowded with fish. What happens with all the eggs collected and babies born?
It's a good question. Yeah, of course, we don't have big extension of the reserves, and we have limited space in the nurseries. So we try to raise most different species when we collect the eggs. And at first, it was more to improve research on the collecting device and observe the different type of eggs. And then we also use it to raise the fish. And then when the fish were adults, we can then exhibit them in our tanks, exhibitions. And when we have too much fish, then we give them to other aquariums. So it's very common to exchange species between the aquariums. So when we can easily raise some sort of fish or marine organisms, we can exchange with other aquarium and other zoos, and yeah, we help them and they help us in exchange. So it's always an exchange. And if we still have too many of them, we can also use the eggs or leave the eggs in the tank, and then they might survive, they might not survive, but yeah, it's the nature. We can leave the nature.
Great. Well, that's our time. Thank you so much, Elena, for hosting this great virtual experience. It was very interesting and lovely to see all the species you guys have at the Nausicaá Aquarium. So thank you all for joining us for this great exploration, and big thank you to the Nausicaá Aquarium. We hope you've been inspired by this great experience. And we're hosting a couple more great explorations today, so please feel free to subscribe and invite yourself on some of our other experiences. Thank you so much, Elena and Julian and Nausicaa.
Thank you too. I hope you enjoyed, and have a great Earth Day today, everyone. Bye.